Australia's cricket pillaging of England continues with women winning the Ashes Test overnight. Ash Gardner racking up the best women's bowling figures for Australia ever. 12 for the game crash, 8 in the second innings. She took all 5 on the last day.
And incredible to think, Tony, that's her second skill. Batting is her first skill. But look, you're watching here a cricketer Australia's been waiting 150 years for. I think she'll be Australia's first female Indigenous cricket captain. We've only had 7 Indigenous players play in men's and women's cricket. That's not enough. That's poor, Tony.
Yep.
But she's a leader. She's 25, so she's not one of the youngies, she's not one of the oldest, she's just in that beautiful sweet spot. And there's Alyssa Healy and the trophy. Played with 2 broken fingers, if you don't mind, Alyssa, so it was a great test.
Finally, though, the women got to play 5 days instead of 4. It's taken so long to get to this point.
Yeah, 30 years since the last one, and no wonder Australia has played 5 draws in a row before this. They said, give us the extra day and we'll get a result, and there it is. I was a bit worried about this test, boys, that it might get caught in the shadow of Australia's first test at Edgbaston. And it started out that way, then it surged into the spotlight. That's great.
What about, Crash, when you're a spinner and you want the best advice? Nathan Lyon did some work with her?
And just his craft, he transferred it to her. He said, come over the top of the ball. It's his great skill. It's earned him nearly 500 test wickets. And a simple little session like that, as well as being a good spinner, he's really clear when he talks to kids and other spinners, and it really helped him.
Well, that's not something we've seen often in the past, is it? Just because the paths don't cross often enough. That might be the secret sauce here, is that you play the women's Ashes same time as the men's Ashes. As you said, they found the gap. Yep. Is this the only test?
Yeah, that's got
it's a
3
point system,
and
isn't
3
it?
T20s. Australia have to win 2 of those overall to retain or
I like that system.
No, it is absolutely terrific. All right, well, let's get to the men's series, though. Has there been a more eagerly anticipated second test in the history of the Ashes? Oh, that's a valid question, don't you think, Crash?
I don't believe there has been. I mean, not since Bradman and Bodyline, where everyone was wondering what's going to come up next. But the plot thickens because there's a little bit of a split in the Bazball culture, which England are cultivating. It was going to be flat wickets all the way, then suddenly there's a green top at Lords. In other words, there it is.
Where is it? Where is it?
It's there somewhere. But the bowlers have blown up at the first wicket being too flat. Lords have responded with a very green deck. It probably won't do as much as you think it's going to do, but it has complicated Australia's selection. Mitchell Starc was going to go straight in. Now they're saying, oh, gosh, this looks like a Scott Boland sort of wicket. So as we speak, they're discussing their final selection.
Which way would you go, Starc or Boland?
I've actually jumped the fence. I was Starc all the way. But if that's the wicket they're serving up, I totally get Boland because he just puts it on length. There's a slope at Lords. He cuts it down the slope, and I think he could do a great job.
We've been hoodwinked before, though, with green tops 2 days before a test, haven't we? Although I don't remember seeing a Lords pitch that green 2 days before a test match.
It's Lords' reputation as being batting friendly. But you know what matters, Dan, as much as anything on match morning when they're picking the team?
Yeah, the weather.
Up there. If it hoops around at Lords and seams down the hill, look out batsmen for the first 3 hours.
You mentioned Mitch Starc. He'd obviously love to be rolling the arm over on that pitch, but nobody has told him anything just yet.
In terms of the team, I haven't got any indication either way, so your guess is as good as mine until the selectors decide.
Yeah, see, that's interesting because they admit privately they made a mistake, leaving him out of the first test. The worry is now, are you overcorrecting by putting him back in on a Boland sort of deck? So it's interesting. I was disappointed he missed out last time because his engine needs time to warm up, Starc. He's a bad cold starter. He needs time, and he's not getting it.
It's just been interesting, the whole mind games that have been played, because it's a really sort of bizarre twist. Both captains basically have carried themselves as if they won the first test.
I've never seen a lap of honour like the Brendan lap of honour. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, we should be bowing down and thanking him for making the first test. That was what we got out of Edgbaston.
Exactly, and it's carried on. I know in the article for Wisden, Ollie Robinson, I don't know if it was writing, more typing, he said the Aussies refused to go toe-to-toe with them. You know, they knocked you out. You lost. Yet this is how they're carrying themselves.
Is this not part of the Bazball
it is.
plan? Like
I
all
noticed
the
that-
media stuff too?
That's exactly what it is. In Bazball, you are never beaten because you are part of a greater cause. And one of your causes is, in 20 years' time, when people look back, they will say, your era was golden. You enlightened the game even if you lost.
So it's a sect.
It's a sect. It's a cult. There's 6 million hits on Google for Bazball. And I did enjoy Mike Brearley's line about it, the former English captain, who's a psychologist. He said, for a lot of middle-aged men in England, it's an antidote to depression, and it lifts them out of their depths of despair.
But have we kind of flipped Australia and England now in terms of that cockiness? I mean, was it Zach Crawley will win the second test by 150? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we would say.
It is. We've turned into each other. Like they're baiting us. The only thing I'll say about Robinson, everyone said, oh, this guy's a club bowler. He bowls at 129. Like, in 17 tests, he's taken 71 wickets, 10 more than Glenn McGrath at that stage, 5 more than Shane Warne at that stage. I think he's dangerous at Lords. Well, he does bowl slowly, but guess what? So did McGrath.
We're still allowed to hate him, though, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
no,
Well, you'd
the
hope
hate's
his
there.
performance backs up what he's saying.
Well, he's different. Jason Gillespie sacked him from Yorkshire 7 years ago for being unprofessional. He's different. He is right out there. He's a loose unit.
Yeah, loose unit. And, of course, the nicest man in showbiz, Usman Khawaja, up the other end there. He cops the spray. Obviously, we saw that after getting 140.
I'm going to say something controversial. I don't think this was that bad, Tone. I don't think this was... Look, uncalled for, and why would you bake Uzi? But you know what? We're carrying on like we've never sledged anyone ever.
And then...
And we made a song and dance about it. It was too much. It was silly from Ollie. I mean, how many did Uzi make? And you're baking a bloke. I mean, I understand that's the point. But we were a little holier than now, weren't we?
Yeah, it probably wasn't in the Reece Walsh ballpark, but we'll find out more about that a little bit later on.
And then you throw a little curly up at Ricky Ponting and just fire him up in the commentary box.
I love it.